Hello, everyone. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. I'd like to jump right into this because from where I'm sitting, Willow's about to walk straight into one of the biggest disasters of her life without even realizing it. I've watched enough General Hospital over the years to know that trouble in Port Charles rarely arrives with a warning. It sneaks up quietly, and before anyone knows it, lives are turned upside down. That's exactly what I see happening here. The thing that really caught my attention is that Willow firmly believes she has nothing to hide. She knows she didn't leave Jordan Ashford behind after that terrible accident. In her mind, the truth should be enough to protect her. But as we all know, especially in Port Charles, the truth and what people choose to believe are often two very different things. As folks like to say down here in America, appearances can be mighty deceiving. And right now, appearances are about to become Willow's worst enemy. What makes this situation especially dangerous is how carefully everything has been arranged against her. Brooklyn has found the perfect opportunity and seems determined to take full advantage of it. The fact that Willow happens to drive a black SUV already gives the story enough credibility to make people stop and wonder. Unfortunately for Willow, that is only the beginning. Once Brick manipulates Willow's GPS records to place her on Highway 91 at the exact time of the accident, the situation becomes far more serious. Suddenly, this is no longer just gossip circulating around town. It becomes something that looks like evidence. In today's world, people tend to trust technology without asking too many questions. If a GPS system says someone was somewhere, most people immediately assume it must be true. That's why I believe Willow is going to have an incredibly difficult time convincing anyone that she is being framed. Then there is Lucy Coe's involvement, which may end up being the most damaging part of this entire scheme. I have to admit, when I heard that Lucy would be speaking with Joe Fitzpatrick at the PCPD, I immediately thought Willow's problems were about to grow much larger. False evidence is dangerous enough, but when a witness steps forward and adds fuel to the fire, people start connecting dots that may not even exist. What makes this even more heartbreaking is that Willow's reputation has already taken its share of hits over the past few years. Whether people agree with her choices or not, she has made mistakes, and those mistakes have left some residents of Port Charles skeptical of her. Because of that history, there will undoubtedly be people who are willing to believe the worst about her before hearing her side of the story. That is exactly what Brooklyn is counting on. From my perspective, Brooklyn is not necessarily trying to send Willow to prison. Instead, she appears determined to destroy Willow's image in the eyes of the people around her. More importantly, she wants Harrison Chase to see Willow as someone unworthy of trust. She hopes this scandal will expose what she considers Willow's true character and finally open Chase's eyes. Still, the more I think about it, the more I wonder if Brooklyn is making a huge mistake. One thing I've learned from watching soap operas for decades is that plans designed to tear two people apart often end up bringing them closer together. If Chase discovers that Willow is being framed, if he watches her fight to clear her name while everyone else rushes to judgment, he may end up feeling more protective of her than ever before. And that's why I find this storyline so fascinating. Willow is heading toward a crisis that could ruin her reputation, damage her relationships, and leave her isolated from the people she cares about. Yet at the same time, this very ordeal could become the thing that strengthens her bond with Chase. Sometimes the darkest storms reveal who truly stands beside you, and I have a feeling Willow is about to find out exactly who her real allies are. As I look ahead to the week of June 22 through June 26, I honestly find myself shaking my head a little when it comes to Chase. From everything we're hearing, he seems determined to finally put some distance between himself and Willow's endless stream of problems. He wants to focus on his marriage, protect the life he's built, and stop getting dragged into situations that don't directly involve him. On the surface, that sounds like exactly what he should do. After all, every marriage needs boundaries, and Chase has spent a long time getting pulled in different directions whenever Willow finds herself in trouble. The problem is that life in Port Charles never seems to care about anyone's plans. Just when Chase appears ready to move forward and concentrate on his relationship, Willow's world begins falling apart around her. The timing couldn't be worse. In fact, I think this situation is going to test Chase more than he realizes. He may start the week convinced that he needs to stay out of Willow's life, but I don't believe that conviction will last very long once he learns what she's facing. Apparently, Chase will receive a warning from someone about what's happening. I can easily imagine Assistant District Attorney Justine Turner being one of the people encouraging him to stay out of the situation. From a legal perspective, that's probably smart advice. If Willow is under investigation, getting personally involved could create complications for everyone. But Chase has never been the type of person who simply stands back and watches someone suffer, especially someone he cares about. That's what makes this storyline so interesting to me. Chase always seems to find himself in the same position. No matter how many times he promises to stay out of trouble, he ends up rushing toward it whenever Willow is involved. It's almost become part of who he is. Deep down, he wants to believe he can help people. He wants to fix things, and when someone he trusts is hurting, walking away has never come naturally to him. Meanwhile, Willow is about to experience what may be one of the most frightening moments of her life. Imagine being accused of something you know you didn't do. Imagine watching evidence begin to pile up against you while having absolutely no idea how any of it happened. That's the nightmare Willow appears to be living through. The accusations against her are serious, and from her perspective, they probably seem completely unbelievable. What strikes me most is how confused Willow is likely to become. She knows she didn't abandon Jordan and Curtis at the accident scene. She knows she's innocent, yet somehow the evidence seems to be pointing directly at her. That kind of situation can make even the strongest person question everything. The more she tries to understand what's happening, the more trapped she may feel. I can picture Willow becoming increasingly desperate as the pressure mounts. At first, she may assume the misunderstanding will be cleared up quickly. Then, little by little, she begins realizing that people actually believe the accusations. That's when panic starts setting in. That's when she begins understanding that her reputation, her future, and possibly her freedom could all be at risk. Naturally, when fear reaches that level, people turn to those they trust the most. That's why I believe Willow will immediately seek out Chase. No matter how complicated their history may be, there is still a connection between them. She knows he has always tried to be fair. More importantly, she knows he's one of the few people who might listen before deciding she's guilty. I can easily imagine Willow sitting across from Chase, emotionally exhausted and completely overwhelmed, trying to explain that none of this makes sense. She may swear repeatedly that she never left Jordan and Curtis behind. She may struggle to understand why anyone would think she could do something so cruel. Those scenes could end up being some of the most emotional moments we've seen from her in quite some time because they tap into something very real, the fear of being blamed for something you didn't do. The legal complications only make matters worse. Alexis Davis being summoned to the police station suggests that this situation is becoming far more serious than Willow ever expected. Once lawyers become involved, the stakes rise dramatically. At that point, this isn't simply a rumor spreading through Port Charles. This becomes a formal investigation that could have lasting consequences. And if Chase eventually discovers that Brooke Lynn deliberately orchestrated this entire setup, the consequences could be devastating. This isn't the type of mistake that can be brushed aside with a simple apology. This would be a betrayal built on deception, manipulation, and the deliberate destruction of another person's reputation. Trust is fragile, and once it's shattered, putting it back together is never easy. As I watch this story unfold, I keep thinking that Willow's legal troubles may only be one part of a much larger disaster. The real explosion could come later, when Chase finally learns who is pulling the strings behind the scenes. If that moment arrives, and I believe it will, it could change several relationships forever. Willow may be fighting to clear her name, but Brooke Lynn could soon find herself fighting to save a marriage that may never be the same again.